Let's go.
Welcome to the Soul Fam podcast, where we expand your personal universe. I'm Diana Marquetta, and in each episode, Soul Fam co-founder, co-creator Lexi Strummer-Solden and I interview the world's most rising and longtime experts in consciousness, spirituality, entertainment, healing, and science. From Earth's dimensions and dimensions way, way beyond. On the Soul Fam podcast, our frequencies are high and your heart chakras will open as these powerful voices of today share cutting-edge research, profound experiences, and valuable knowledge for your world in this out-of-this-world, thought-provoking, envelope-pushing interviews that could only take place right here on the Soul Fam podcast. Hello, Soul Fam podcast family. In this episode, with Dev Ocean Design, founder and Feng Shui expert, and home clearer, Marie Canus, we discuss the second part of an interview that was suddenly interrupted due to technical difficulties. At the time of that particular interview, Marie Canus was discussing paranormal phenomena in which she experienced at a house clearing in Beverly Hills, Hollywood. At that clearing, Marie experienced the spirit of James Dean's deceased girlfriend. During that clearing, Marie helped that spirit move on. It is common at the Soul Fam podcast for us to have technical difficulties when discussing paranormal phenomena. The second aspect that we felt was very important for us to bring to our audience is that this particular interview discusses the aspect of suicide. It contains themes that can be triggering to some listeners. If you or if you know someone who is in crisis, please dial 988 in the U.S. or contact 988lifeline.org. Or if you're international, please contact the International Association for Suicide Prevention at iasp.info to learn more about suicide prevention. Again, please dial 988 or contact 988lifeline.org or iasp.info for the International Association for Suicide Prevention. The third issue we wanted to be sure we talked with you about was that, in fact, according to published details, James Dean's girlfriend, Pierre Angeli, who was an Italian actress who appeared in more than 20 films and earned a Golden Globe during her brief, adored career, was a confirmed suicide at that time. We take these things seriously, and we hope you will too. Thank you. So we're starting the second episode of the Marie Canus Dev Ocean Design interview. And in our previous interview, during that interview, as we were discussing a house clearing that Marie was doing, the recording suddenly ended. Marie, will you please take us to the James Dean Hollywood home clearing episode where you met James Dean's girlfriend?
Yes. Do you want me to start from the beginning or just when after I cleared it? Yeah, after I did the feng shui clearing, did the whole feng shui session, and I I suddenly smelled like a cat had peed on the floor, and I was like, oh my! It was super strong in the dining room area, and I was like, this is crazy right here. And they go, we don't have a cat, and I'm like, oh, can you smell that? And nobody could smell it, and I was like pointing at this point, and the lady said, that's odd. You're pointing at that point because that's where James Dean's girlfriend killed herself, and I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. So weird. I always get chills when I think about it. That morning, I just want to preface by saying before I went to this feng shui session, I started having strange things happen in the morning because I kind of prepare myself a little bit. And my electricity went out, and I felt like I heard someone saying like, why are you here? But I didn't really pay attention to that voice, right? But when I started doing the session towards the end, I kept hearing, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And I didn't put that all together till right then when I pointed at the spot. The lady said to me, yeah, she killed herself because she didn't get an audition. And right then, it just like, my body just felt so overwhelmed by like anger and all these emotions, right? All of a sudden, I'm like, that's not true. She didn't do that. Like I got very like upset with my client, and I go, she killed herself because she was forced to have an abortion, and she was devastated, and I could just feel this devastation in her. And then I looked around the room, and I saw this like window that I was like, we have to open that window. Like I knew immediately, like we have to like clear the space. And I felt her in me like panicking, and they said that window doesn't open, and I said you have to open the window. So they forced it open, and I had hung this crystal over this table, and the light hit it so that there were like rainbows all over the room. It was like a movie. I was like, whoa. It was like a lot of rainbows. And right then I just felt this long breath go out of me. It was like the longest exhale I've ever had, and it just made me cry. I was like, whoa, the relief and the feeling of like the grateful. She was so happy, like to release her, like through the window. It was incredible. Like I think it's very important to open your windows in feng shui too, because it represents your eyes and seeing clearly. But I think she was stuck in there. Spirits can get stuck in doorways, when there's a lot of doors and windows and they're not being opened. They can get confused about which way to go. I think they are like portals, on other dimensions to them. So when you go in a house with too many doors, it can be very confusing, and you want to take some doors out if you can, Zen was no door.
So had they prepared you for this job?
She was there for like 50 years, I think, or something like that. And I knew nothing about this, nothing. And she was stuck, but the feeling of getting out was such a relief for her. I've never felt that before, and I've never felt that kind of exhale. It was like so long. It was like such a long exhale. And then I just sat outside the building when I was done, and I just took 2 weeks to get, more back to work again, because it was very profound for me, and I understood that was her last breath, that she stopped, like she held her breath for 50 years, but out of time, right? So other dimensions are not in time like we are. That's our prison, or whatever you want to call it, our locks us in. And so she was right out of it. So just sitting there in a moment, stuck in a moment for a long time. And I think I hear a lot that suicides can be like that, because of fear will stop them, and because it's not their time to go, right? Or for whatever reason, to learn things. So she didn't really forgive herself. She was so upset. And, but she was very following me. She was there before I got there. My electricity was going out, and that was happening. So it's interesting when I talk about her, I still get chills right now. And the electricity the phone went out then. It was odd. But yeah, that happens. Usually when they're around, kind of, they can work with electrical energy, because we're electric and magnetic, right? And I think our souls are more electric, and our bodies can be more magnetic. That's what I'm feeling, for currents, of energy. So I think they can mess with stuff like that for sure, lights and stuff.
So you said she was forced to have an abortion. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was like, she had to have an abortion. I think that's
why,
because of James Dean, and because of who.
Wait, he forced her, or because of her career?
I think because of his career. I think that even in my life, like I had a child with a famous person, sort of, at that time, and they didn't want me to. The publicity people, he was in a show, and he was being marketed as a single hot man, right? And they wanted me to sign papers to not say that he had a kid, And I was like, whatever, I'm not even I didn't do anything, but sign papers or anything. But they wanted me to do that because of how they're marketing him, you know? And they don't need James Dean to have a baby. So they were like, nope. So I think at that point, they're probably more intense about it.
So the pressure was put on her to have an abortion for the sake of his career. And right, that is not what she wanted to do.
Right. And right.
Did she have a name? What was her name? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I mean, I didn't get a name from her. And actually, I never even looked it up. I should look it up. But the owners of the building were saying that that's where she killed herself, right where I was pointing.
And how did she kill it? And did she kill herself? I mean, how did she kill herself?
I don't know. That I never looked into it after. I just know that she did, and I don't remember if they said something to me, but I don't. That was never like her name. I just that she was so sad and so upset at what people thought about her that she killed herself over losing an audition. She was like how upset. She was so mad and sad, and I do know a few people that haven't forgiven themselves after abortions, and they're devastated for years. So a kid could be 7 now, they get all trippy about it, you know. Have to really let that go because it's really intense, you know. But it was bang.
Do you have a thought? It's interesting that this subject matter is coming up now.
Right.
I mean, we do not like to be political at all, and we sort of refuse to be. But it's interesting that this is coming up right now, as Roe versus Wade is still something that's in the headlines, and we're in discussion about it. So it's just an interesting aspect.
I think it should be definitely looked at deeper. I mean, I think the body mourns it no matter what, whether your soul has to choose to do something different. I mean, it should be everyone's choice, but the body has a mourning time of like losing something like that. It just has its own, it's an organism, right? So, you know, but she didn't want to.
Fascinating.
Just in order to stay with him, she did, you know. But,
so it took you a few weeks to get over that.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Everything takes 2 weeks, it feels like, in Feng Shui, because when we do Feng Shui, I'll say, okay, when you make a change in your home, no matter what, it takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks for your body to realign with the house, resync, you know? I mean, I've changed like where they put their forks and knives and people have a meltdown because it's been like that for 40 years and they've been like going autopilot. You go autopilot. And when you change the pattern, it becomes disruptive and it can be very irritating for people. They get angry, you know, all kinds of things. But when we do a house, especially if it's been stuck for a long time, if they live there for a long time, the patterns are very deep. So I try not to go too fast on giving. I mean, I give them the information, but I'm like, take your time when you implement this because every time you change something, a lot of stuff can come up for you in whatever area you're changing it in, like your health or your love. So for example, I did one house where their love section was the two most packed, out of control storage areas ever. It was full of stuff for like 20 years, 10 years maybe. This is a couple and they wanted to get married, but it's never working out and they were going to break up or whatever. So anyways, I told them, clean this up. And they did. And I got the worst calls for a week and a half, 2 weeks, like cussing me out because they were fighting. She said it was worse than ever. But then they called me after 2 weeks and they go, oh my gosh, all that stuff had to come out. And now we're getting married. And they were so happy, like, because it purged everything, right? So it comes up for people very heavily, but it's always a week and a half to 2 weeks. I tell people, like, just go to the movies and pretend you have PMS for a week and a half to 2 weeks because you're going to feel weird because stuff comes up in relationships, whatever, health, it'll just come up for you to look at. Well, we're it's weird that they talk about AI too. Like it's weird because I always think we already are like computers because we copy our environment. Like as kids, that's how we learn our language. That's how we do everything. We copy everything everybody's doing. Or like, let's say we go to Italy, suddenly after you start like almost having that accent and wearing the scarf, you take on the energy of the place, you know, eating more pasta and maybe talking like this, you know, because you start taking on that energy. So you copy your environment. It's a trip. It's such a trip. So it's like we're little computers, and I'm like, how can I change this sofa over here, and suddenly the person's feeling different, or it's incredible. And you could do the opposite where you hurt yourself, you know, subconsciously. And I've done people whose houses are completely different. Clients that call me for all the new houses, and it's still the same reading. You know, I'm like, you still have issues here. It's like buy a new house, it's totally different, but it's still debilitating in the same exact area. It's a trip. And then when you change it, your body starts to copy that. and become better. It's weird. It's like a third of our reality we're copying. The rest we're bringing in from other areas, but we literally copy our environment. You know, that's how we become similar. In language, dialect, everything. Nobody teaches us that.
So speaking to the environment, and this is a bit of a jump, but as we enter the Halloween season, or as we enter this, the full moon was just the other day. And I'm not going to say this correctly about Halloween, but it's originally a pagan holiday. So that is my understanding, is that that's when the veil is thinnest. Is that correct? And so how does that...
Ancestors. It's also the next day in Sweden, right? Or in Europe, where they have All Saints Day on November 1st. So around the world, it's all the same. That's the same holiday.
Oh, the Day of the Dead.
So everybody knows it's a very thin, it's the thinnest, the day for the thinnest of the veils, when you can really communicate with the other side, the fourth dimension.
So can we talk about that a little bit, and how that works in our homes, and how that works in our families or in our environments?
Well, yeah. So there's an area in Feng Shui called Helpful People in Travel, right?
Say that again.
So Helpful People in Travel. So it's an area where, let's say you're standing in your front door of any room or your house. It's on the far right, on the same wall as you're entering a place, right? The far right corner. So, and stand in your doorway, look to the far right. That right there is the pinnacle of Helpful People in Travel. And whatever is there in that corner is going to help you. Okay. That's the area that you want to put people's photos of anyone who's passed over. Okay. If you put it in any other area, you're going to take on death in that area. You don't want death in your health or love or money, but you can put them over there, Helpful People, where they become helpful to you, and you can hear, you're better communicating with them. They can reach you easier. In other areas, it's debilitating. Don't put it anywhere else. Nowhere else should you have pictures of any dog or grandma or anybody who's on the other side, Jimi Hendrix, whatever, on the far right. That's it. You could also put them in the bathroom, but that reverses them, so you don't really want to. You can do that, but that would be the only secondary place, but it's really only there.
What do you mean it reverses them?
That's your intention of who you want to talk to.
Oh, what? Say that again, Marie.
Anybody you want to talk to, anybody, any deity, anything you want to help you, any you want to move to Italy, books of Italy. You want to, worship Krishna, books of Krishna. You want to talk to your grandma, put a picture of your grandma there.
In the bathroom?
No, in the far right.
Oh, in the far right.
the far right, that's Helpful People. In the bathroom, bathrooms are bad feng shui, because we don't go to the bathroom near where we sleep, eat, anything, naturally, ever. We're camping, you go away to go to the bathroom. You don't sit there like 2 feet away and go to the bathroom where everybody is. You just don't. So the body doesn't understand these bathrooms, so it's always debilitated. No matter where a bathroom is, it's bad. We should bring back the outhouse, but so we have to cancel it out. We usually put mirrors on the outside of the bathroom to create an illusion of that it's not there, right? But if you put anybody in the bathroom, any photos of anybody in the bathroom, you are basically doing black magic, because it reverses them, in your life. It hurts them. So if you don't like somebody.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I know a few people I'd like to put in my bathroom.
You want to go to court and you don't want them to have as much power, you put them in there for a minute.
In the bathroom.
Are we creating some kind of weird magic?
You don't know. I mean, you don't realize you're doing it until you speak with someone and they are sort of giving you a rundown of what's green magic, and then you're like, oh no, now I've got to go back and reverse years of damage that I did because I thought I was just like observing the seasons or whatever I thought I was doing.
Innocently, absolutely. I have clients like, I know where my prosperity is. It's in my far right there. It's in my bathroom. I did an altar to money. I'm like, and how much money are you losing since then? They're like, it's devastating. I hate feng shui. I'm like, no, you put it in the bathroom. You'll reverse it so fast. It'll make, if you want to hurt yourself or anybody else, put them in the bathroom. It's horrible. Like, no photos of anybody you care about. Just don't put any photos at all. Just don't even be mean. You know what I mean? Unless you're going to court, you have to for a minute. Or let's say sometimes you do like a star or something. Jimi Hendrix, for example, you want to reverse that, like he comes back to life, but it's really not good to do because you can reverse what it means to you and stuff. I just say all abstract art, all warm colors that cancel out the water. So balance. You're trying to get rid of so much water in the area, so you put hot things like Santa Fe colors, candles, shells, rocks, warm colors. Not cool, not more water pictures, no dolphins, no Buddhas and pictures of your family. Oh my gosh. Or sayings that everybody has. No. Dried flowers you could put in there. That's the only place because it reverses them. But other than that, maybe some sand dollars and things that reverse, like brings them back to life.
Interesting. I had Shiva in my bathroom for a while.
Versus Shiva's power in your life.
Well, that was dumb. Good thing I moved.
You're like, oh, that looks so good. It's like, so go first with the feng shui and then you figure out the look, right? Because so many times I would like to do that too. I'm like, this would look so cool, but it would be so bad. So you can't do that. So first you start with a skeleton of like where you need to be and then you design around that. But never put anything in the bathroom. Oh my goodness. Like literally just, and then mirrors are reflecting in the bathrooms. So it'll reflect to your subconscious mind that you have two toilets. Double the shit. It's like, try not to have as many mirrors in the bathroom if you can. I can tell you how many mirrors we painted over or taken down because it just makes multiple, how the mirrors reflect back and forth too. It's a portal of shit, basically. It's true. It's bad. Like, you don't want to try not to do that. And it creates portals. Actually, two mirrors looking at each other will pull in all kinds of negative things. And all the places that I've had, trust me, I've worked with a lot of celebrities that end up in some weird places, and it brings in ghosts. It brings in all kinds of stuff. The doorway, like, come on in, That's how you want to, that's also black magic. Put two mirrors facing each other. No, I'm like, no way. Don't do it. Pulls in dark stuff.
Have you ever
very powerful.
Oh, I was just going to ask if you've ever left a home and been like, nope,
I
can't.
Yes, I have. I did a famous artist in Hawaii. I won't say his name. Boy, he was very famous. Everybody knows him. Paints dolphins. Great guy. I thought. I was so excited. He flew me in. And I turned around and said, nope. He was so dark and so mean to everyone. And so I was like, wow, I couldn't even deal. I had to leave. I couldn't even stay there. It's so bad. Evil. A horrible person to everyone. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. And another, I don't want to say names. And it's another celebrity too, a girl, famous girl with her rock star boyfriend. I said, and too many ghosts and crazy things I saw already before. I'm like, I'm not even equipped for that darkness. I've done a few where I call in some other people to help me to move some dark energy and where I feel attacked, like needles, and people are just crazy because you start bringing up all kinds of things. People are dead. I don't know. They run the house stronger than the people do. So I was like, I can't fight this. It's not my thing. Or they're too dark. I just can't help them. I'm not allowed to. There's only been a couple, and they were big celebrities each time.
Were they aware? Were they aware that it was happening? I mean, did they invite it in?
Yeah, we didn't have as much talk. I wouldn't talk to them. The egos were so big. I mean, I talked to them, but they already couldn't understand even what was going on. They knew something was wrong. That's why they called me, but I just couldn't do it. 3 people actually. Another huge one. I can't say the names today. I think they're. Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No, I understand, but that's really interesting. Was it a misuse of their power, their own soul power, and so they invited that in. Dark.
They're pulling it in, and I'm like, I'm not doing that because that's just going to be. It just felt like dangerous for me.
Which helped them be successful, right? But it didn't help them in their lives.
Yeah,
they did not help them as human beings.
Yeah, no, it's almost like it's happening now as they get up there. They pulled in some seriously dark energy that's way too big. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, and I know, like, I got my butt kicked a few times where I'm like, I can handle this, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know, this energy is way too intense. Needles, I feel like just pain, and they come after me. It's really intense.
So what comes after you, Marie?
Now, I mean, I've had experiences where. I mean, I open myself up to it. I'm not saying like everybody. I wear a mirror every time I work. I definitely wear a mirror on my solar plexus because I can't. That's where energy goes. Energy sucking happens from even people randomly on the street. They don't know. They live off of other people's energy, and they don't want to be alone. They hate being alone. They don't like themselves, really. They just have to take energy from everyone. And I always wear a mirror now, and it really does help not to go in there. So I'm so empathic that I can just get up into somebody's perspective and go right in there. And then how do I get out? It's the kid, and I think I've gotten stronger and stronger. But sometimes if I ever get cocky or think I can do, then I'm sure to get slammed from it, get sick from it or whatever. I've ended up on the floor like in seconds. I think I told you guys about that. It was a Palisades house, and I was like, whoa, like I'm instantly just, I felt like I was going to throw. I felt great when I walked in. I was on the floor, on the concrete with my face on the concrete, trying to cool down and apologizing. And they were like, oh, I go, what's happened in this house? Like, you guys haven't told me. And they're like, well, there was a whole bunch of sacrifices here. And I'm like, I wasn't ready for that. I have to get my energy into, like, this is heavy, murders in the house. You got to tell me that before I get here. So
what? You have not told us anything about this, Marie.
That was the Palisades house, right on PCH. It was a house right there before, what is it, Temesco, right there. So it's a kind of right on the highway. For Temesco, I think, yeah. And wow, I walked in. I was not expecting that. They said cops. It was really bad. It was like 5 people murdered there.
Were sacrificed
and
there?
They were still there. Huh?
They were sacrificed there. Was it part of a cult or?
Had to do with police, like bad cops and all kinds of weird things. Yeah, I like ran from it. I didn't want to do that house. I literally took maybe 2 months later, and there had been a psychic woman had moved in there who was very powerful, and she helped me do it because I was like, through that. I mean, I want to help, but to the level of like, I can't handle that many people at once just by myself, like just randomly. Or that one's very dark. I mean, it took my body down in 2 seconds. Because when I start looking into it, I can walk in, it was normal, and then all of a sudden, when I tune it, I get ready to do Feng Shui. I feel like I'm feeling with my eyes. Like I scan everything, and then all of a sudden, I was down. Like it just got me right off the bat. I was so unprepared. Now I get more prepared every time before I go in. You never know what you're going to run into. And when you start moving things, you unlock things, right, that are sitting there for a long time. And people get used to it. Hauntings, all that stuff, it's all bad Feng Shui. Because once you get the Feng Shui dialed, all the areas, it's like movement. It's wind and water. So nothing can get stuck. It keeps moving, like the breeze is going through. So just, it can't sit there. We run this realm. But they can sneak in through weird things, and then if it's stagnant, like pond water, it starts to, mold. It gets gross. Same thing with the energy.
Is that kind of like at, the horror movie where they go to an estate sale and it's like, oh, I really love this old doll.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm going to take it home with me and it's haunted. And do all sort of vintage, old timey items, if there's sort of a buzz of energy coming off them, is it necessarily that they're haunted? Because I was somewhere that's like a dance studio in this industrial part of LA.
Yeah,
they can hold emotions.
Bashar, you guys ever listen to Bashar?
No.
Yeah. Very well. Like he says that all our thoughts are put. That's why we have to clear things all the time. We go down the freeway. I was thinking about something, then I come back like 5 days later to the same spot. I just noticed this because of Bashar said so, and boom, I'm thinking the same thought again. It's such a random thought. I'm like, whoa, at the same location that I thought of it first. So we are dumping emotional energy everywhere, all of us. So you can walk in and feel. I have a friend who reads floors, right? She can go in and she can feel the memories on the floors of a fight happened here and this happened there, because we drop the energy. That's why we have to clear it, like sage and stuff. Because people's energy, when you move into a new house, for example, do a salt and alcohol clearing to clear the energy of the old people, because it's in there. And we don't even realize what we're picking up on. We live in apartments. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so yeah, it sticks there. So I think those kind of what was that? Was the original question? I started thinking about all that stuff.
Haunted dolls, estate
sales.
Yeah.
So people's memories and feelings and stuff are going in here, right? Absolutely. They have trauma within holding this thing. That's how people can do psychometry. You can take someone's watch and you can read them because there's memory in them. in the watch from, it's all energy. It's just energy, right? It's so amazing. And it gets so, so when you're around a lot of people, you really do need to clear yourself. That's why I wear that mirror. It really helps me from not like, oh God, picking up on everything. And yeah, you touch things, go to antique stores afterwards, you feel like stickier energy. It's like, yeah, they put energy into that. And some people, when they cross over, are so attached, especially older people. I noticed, like when I do a lot of houses, a lot of elderly that are very attached to their homes and their things. Very, they built that home. Their kids were there. I mean, they're not leaving the house. They're stubborn, you know. So I have, they're so stubborn. I know one lady I'm working for, this client. I do all their stuff, but when I first met them, a tree had fallen on their house, right? And they wanted to sell the house, and they just couldn't for 2 years. And so we feng shuied it, and things were just going wrong, wrong, wrong. And at the very end, again, I'm like walking around about to leave, and I hear, I want my flowers. And I'm like, flowers? What's up with the flowers? And I ask her, what's up with the flowers? She goes, in the front, there's flowers in the front. This lady, I hear a voice saying that. And she's like, oh, this lady, when I bought the house, there's all these pots in the beginning in the front. I just didn't like them, and it was full of flowers. I hated it. So I put it away in the back. And I go, oh, I don't think that. She was kind of angry, the energy. And she said, she'd want those flowers. I mean, it was not even a question. It's like, put the damn flowers back, right? So I said, I think you should put the flowers back to sell the house. And she's like, I don't even like flowers. So I think you should. I think that you're getting blocked. You know, trees falls on you, and then it's been 2 years. You need to do it. Pretty clear. It doesn't always happen that I hear that stuff. So she did it. They sold the house in 2 days.
Oh, you're kidding.
Right after that. Yeah. It was incredible. So they hired me for everything from that day forward. They're like, oh my God. But it was in the realtor too. Like, wow. I mean, what? How did you, what? Because there was a block. She was like, nope. This woman's energy was stubborn. Like your old grandma. Like, nope. You know, to the end. The wheels fall off. It's like she released also. She was holding on to her flowers. And when she moved them, she was upset. Maybe she came back or something. It wasn't like she was haunted. She was angry. She was angry. Maybe she did the tree. I didn't know that part, but she's all about those flowers. Put them back. And then it sold and everything's fine. Mm-hmm.
So if we're trick-or-treating this year and we're going from house to house, is there anything that we should do as, I don't know, protection or something like that?
Wear a mirror. Always wear a mirror. Even my son is starting to wear a mirror. He was like, oh, Mom, that's so lame. But now he's like, just not take on all this energy. Well, it's a very, I don't think we should call on anything. You know what I mean? Like people do that all the time. I'm going to call on my grandma and talk. It's like, I guess you can listen for communication, but to call the dead back is it's fine line with who you ask for help from and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Just let it be. Let them, maybe you can get visitations from in your dreams and stuff, but to call it in here in reality is definitely calling on, you're asking for trouble. You know what I mean? Like leaving your door unlocked and other things can come in. Just because you ask for grandma to come doesn't mean that other people aren't coming. So you left the door open. And I don't recommend it, because you can get information from your intuition and from other ways instead of sitting in ceremony and doing all these like things that people are doing. People don't understand what they're doing. There are Ouija boards and all these things. Like don't. A lot of entities will come and communicate, and they're not who you think they are. Like, sure, I'm grandma.
Great.
I'm sure I'm grandma. Hey, how's it going?
Definitely. This is what I always thought. This is why I'm like, nope. I still do the tarot cards, and I know people are like,
tarot is different. That's using your intuition. You can use deck playing cards. It just helps you focus. But
you don't need to hold a spiritualist type, not bashing the spiritualist movement. I know it was, very interesting in the time and there was a lot of great thinkers, etc. But when you're there trying to say like, okay, who's there? It's like, okay, great. Well, like who isn't here at this point? Because now like everyone's here.
Exactly. It's crowded.
Now we have to clear
There's a lot of bees.
No one wants to go. They're like, well, you invited us, so you gotta get rid of us.
Oh, yeah. Once you open the door, and they're saying, with the vampire and the garlic at the door and all that stuff, it's really interesting because you do invite everybody. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's like going to a new country and you're like, hey, like, I'm going to leave my door open for grandma or whatever. You don't know what you're talking about right now. You're like in the middle of some city in China and in the worst neighbor. You don't know where you are energetically, like on that level, because that's not a realm unless you practice that all the time. And then most of those people will not do seances or Ouija boards or call on things and, call on, careful how we say that, because you're calling on your ancestors, but you're also calling up the dead is what you're doing. So careful,
Because you could be calling on any dead.
Oh yeah, and they can just show up however. I mean, like Little Red Riding Hood. I am that came to mind. Like the wolf. He's like, hey, I'm grandma. Whatever. I can access the memory, whatever. Like stuff like that. I think that they get messed with just like in life. Taken for a ride because they want to get in. They want a lot of beings. When they die, don't want to leave. They don't want to leave, and they're very upset about it. It's like just like being us, but we like lost our body. And I think there's a few times where I could feel the shock of them. It's really sad. Like they get stuck in bathrooms a lot too. By the way, so weird.
Why bathrooms?
Drains. Bathrooms of houses. Sometimes if people die or kill themselves or whatever, I could feel. You could tune into them, and it's weird. Bathroom portal, bad portal, but they don't want to. They either stuck or they can't leave. Don't want to leave. I mean, and those are not good. I mean, not that they're bad people, but careful. Because they have an agenda. They're not like angels, blah, blah, blah. Angels will appear in visions. That's different than calling on things. Mm-hmm.
What do you mean they have an agenda?
Beings that want to be embodied. They want to be in the body. And we run this realm, and they're on the outside. It's like we invite them in. They can come in if you invite them in. Just like a vampire. Don't invite them in. They'd be dumb. They're going to take something they have nothing to give you. Maybe some not, but they could come in a dream then. They don't need to come like that, like in the physical like this, like when we ask them like consciously.
Okay, so what do you mean by embodied?
Oh, like entities have the ability to, if you step out of if they get you emotional, and if you're too in the past or in the future, like emotionally, like having memories of, they can, you're out of your body. So they can step in with your body. There's been a case I was listening to a radio show of even on the of beings having like up to like 70 different entities could come through. I mean, it's a lot. People have attachments where they're like in you, but like with you, kind of attached to you because you're so emotional and all, or a lot of alcohol. I mean, spirits is alcohol. It's called that. You can get attachments, and you start getting really depressed and like, taking on their energy, right? And they want to live again, so they'll take anything. It's desperate times over there for that level. So be careful. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had like a sixth sense, or I forget the movie with Nicole Kidman? Have you ever had that moment where maybe something's trying to convince you that like you're actually the dead one and they're actually alive? Like they're trying to say like, oh no.
Yeah, like the government. the birth certificate.
Like them. Friends, the government.
We are like, yeah, wow. That movie, right? Well, everything's reversed in a weird way, reversed. I mean, I have a theory on that one. It's really trippy. Like I started realizing during COVID, my if I were to do one thing to change the world, I think that I would like to get rid of all the catacombs in the world. My God.
Why do you say that?
Because when a friend was talking about catacombs, we're supposed to go there in Paris. I'm like, I'm not going down there. I don't want to be near them. So I started looking into it on during COVID. Like, I don't know why. And suddenly I found out that, do you know that there's catacombs in almost every major city of the world? And in LA, we have over 50,000 bones in the center of the city. So in Feng Shui, whatever's in the center of anything is called the center of the universe. Okay. And it's supposed to be gold and sunlight and crystals and stone and all this stuff we place in the middle of our house. Well, in the middle of our cities, we have dead bodies. Wow, we have bones, catacombs. And I started looking deep. I go, wait, but when you say catacombs, just go straight to France, right?
Yeah.
But they don't. Then I started saying, well, what about LA? What about, oh yeah. And it's almost every major city in the entire world has catacombs in the center. And I'm like, then I started reading about Paris, how they said, oh yeah, we have catacombs because we couldn't bury them all during the Black Plague. But then I read, They went out to the countryside and dug up bones and brought them to the city. I'm like, okay, so they're lying, right? And then some of the churches, they have all this underground downstairs prayers and stuff connected to the catacombs where you can get rid of bodies. I mean, bones are magical as far as they still have a charge when you hit them. They have some type of electric charge to them. So you can call on spirits. And when you don't bury someone or burn them, put them back to the earth, they are basically wandering spirits. They cannot rest. Okay. This happened many times where one feng shui client, I walked in and I was like, I heard loudly, I love my family, but tell them to let me go. And I'm like, okay. And I went into this weird room on the side and I just felt super weird. And I'm like, told them about it. And they go, oh, that's where we have all our ashes in there. And, we just made our brother into necklaces. We put ashes there and we're wearing them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's upset about it. You need to bury him right away.
Are you serious? I have like a stone that was made from my grandfather's ashes. Do I need to get rid of it?
Yes, please. Oh God, make the world a better place and put all our ashes in the ground or in the wind or put it in a tree, like plant a tree.
Yep.
But they have to go back to the earth. They must go back to the earth. And if they don't, we keep them bound. Okay, it's like genie in a bottle. It's like we are binding them. That's black magic.
Oh, I feel so bad now.
Keep their bones. And that's why you see all those old ladies, like Parts of the Caribbean, the witches, they're all banging the bones, because they can call on things. And it's like you can control them almost a little bit. Like you can access them through their bones. I'm just like, wow. When I started freaking out and seeing how many people's bones are in catacombs, it almost equals as many people alive. Okay, so now we're talking, they just bound the same amount of people that are here, which means that they never really left. They're here taking up space and we're supposed to be here. So we're only halfway here. We didn't get to fully, those are our souls. Those are our souls bones probably. And if you think about reincarnation, we're bound. So I'm like, oh my gosh, all these things are connected. It's like, holy shit. What if we just got rid of all our bones, all the bones and see what I got chills. I know that would be it would just change everything because they did it for a reason. And they did it during a time when everything shifted. If you look back in history, it was all when, they started going into the Corporation of America, everything changed, They changed our history books, everything, and suddenly we have catacombs everywhere. Why do we have catacombs in LA? We have that. Why? They could deposit dead bodies that you want to find. And in Paris, you can only see a little part, but there's miles, millions.
I think that's true in a lot of European cities, actually.
Yeah,
in a lot
I just had
of
a friend call me,
communities.
so many ghosts are here. Yeah, everywhere. But it's here too. Boston, LA, Mexico City. I mean, everywhere. All the major cities have it. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Do the ashes count with animals as well?
Yes.
Okay.
We've got to let them go. And whether you plant something or put it as a sacred spot, like release it on your favorite spot to go there, because honestly, it's genie in a bottle. We've bound them, and it's not fair to us or them because the cycle can't complete. Then we can't. There's that many people here already. We can't get it fully in if they're fully here.
Okay, it's fascinating.
That's what I started researching. Oh my God, they're binding people. And then our birth certificates are really death certificates. That's a whole other thing. Court systems and blah blah. They own us. That's why the bones would do that. If you want to do bad magic, that's what you do. Yeah.
What if we want to do good
ashes,
magic?
Please, ashes. Yes, and that is to put them back to the earth where we belong. That's where we came from. Put them back where we came from, the body. If you don't, that's very serious magic, and all the governments are doing it. So, you tell me. I mean, there's no reason to have dead bodies in the center of every city. Look, unless you're fucking crazy, dark, power monger, and I don't know. That's a big one.
Okay, that's a big rabbit hole here. I think
it's a huge one. But yeah, I went down it, and that's
cool.
But it is bad feng shui, as was the Twin Towers. Was also an example of bad feng shui because it was so much higher than everything and had corners at certain areas, and those buildings were having trouble. Or businesses. I talked to my friends in New York and said the energy is so much better since the towers came down because there's always this looming intense, and some of the businesses there got much better after it left because it's overpowering. Interesting.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I'm just going to ask this quick question, since kind of in general, the populations, there's a lot shifting economically and in our housing market and in people moving and that sort of thing. And, we're experiencing disasters that have obviously ruined people's homes and they feel as though their lives have been ruined. We're just going through a lot of this sort of, very dramatic shift.
Absolutely.
And does that have any element of feng shui in it? Is it a cleansing? Is there a way for people to deal with this? I just lost everything in my home. I lost my backyard. I lost my pictures of my kids, all of those sort of things, whether it's a fire or a flood or hurricane or whatever might be going on.
Absolutely. And that happened to me too. I lost everything in 45 minutes. Every picture of my kid, everything. And there's that moment where you're looking at it and you can panic and freak out, but really lose your mind over that. Or you could be like, oh my gosh, it's the most incredible feeling at the same time because you don't have anything holding you back. And nature's trying to move people and don't fight it. All this stuff is like very important that we move and shift energy. And we're going to lose our stuff one day anyway, all of it, and so it's almost like a rebirth. It's all how you look at it though, but it is very, very, it could be devastating, but it could also be incredibly freeing. And it's one of the happiest, ironically, it was sketchy, but I chose to just stay in the moment with it. And it was so incredible to not have anything because it just made me like naked in the world. And it was what an experience, right? Incredible. But it is not easy. It's just you have to stay in the moment because you start looking back and in the future too far. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I look at everything I lost, and you will just not feel good. It's always back to the moment. Stay in the moment because then you're just like elated. It's a trip. And I think that like right now, if I were to say anything for feng shui to help people right now, is like the most simple version of feng shui is like to keep all your green and growing life stuff on your left and water on your right, mirrors and pictures of water on your right. If you do those things, you'll have your health and your prosperity and a flow and creativity. These things will it creates a flow, natural flow. Water on your right, which means mirrors, pictures of water, and plants on your left, which is like healthy plants and pictures of flowers and green and nothing unhealthy on the left. And right there, you'll be that helps a lot, and fire in front of you, like candles and stuff on the far wall. That's the most simple version of feng shui that brings in elements that will stay in harmony with you, so it helps you, and then stay in the moment. Oh my gosh, and get rid of all the ashes. And clearing sage and all these things to keep you like connected to the earth. We've gone so far away, and all this AI, all this stuff. It's so far removed from our natural state of being. Stay natural as much as possible, I think, for sure. Even saging, just it's not once, just to get rid of it, and that's your intention. So you are in control of how you experience things and where you stay amidst all this. So staying connected to the earth and in the moment, and then making nice intentions for yourself out loud, and not getting into all the unnatural black box that we're looking at all the time. I mean, it's good for education, but like balance it out. Take take your shoes off, and touch the earth and like be with her because she has your back. And it's so many ways that people don't even realize. It makes me cry almost. Like, I just want to say quickly, like all the construction sites I go to and houses where they call me, it's always an emergency. And it's always been like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 2 years. Oh my God, always a fight. Like they're coming. And it's always nature trying to stop you doing a wrong thing. Stop pushing. Like relax. Don't push because you don't see everything. You may be right, but you need to go this way. It changes everything. Just to switch a few degrees over. It's trying to stop you. Like, so you don't have to fight anything. That just means look at it again, revisit it with an open mind. Feel it, like trust yourself, and always come from your heart. Like do everything from your heart. You'll be fine. Nature in your heart.
Well, that is a beautiful way, I think, to wrap this up. I think we can go into interview 3 at some point, episode 3. with Marie Canoes.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, the information that you have to share is really valuable to all of us right now, as we're both going through, or we are all seem to be going through emotional, physical, spiritual, and mental changes, and then obviously our planet's going through a lot of change. Our very existences. So you offer some very valuable sort of ideas and really common sense for navigating all of this.
Yeah, and then looking at everything with new eyes. That's what I've been practicing. Is like when I look at something, try to look at like you just got here, like we just landed in China or wherever. You know, it's like a new place because we look at everything like how we are normally. We're such patterns, you know. So just observe everything like new. Like just look at it like you would a tourist. You don't judge it. You're like, whoa, you know. You just kind of look at it, and because things are shifting so much. So when we hold on to how it should be or what we stay present now. Now is one backwards, right? Everything's backwards. You will win if you stay in the moment and just observe and just be like, whoa, what a trip. And it will pass and everything's going to pass. And just stay wise and in the moment and like observe. And it's really interesting. It's very interesting. You know, instead of like fearful, and we can all go there. But none of those things that we even think are going to happen, it's not going to happen that way. It never does, right? So many versions of how it could be. So just stay present. Because we're not really in control of that stuff anyway. We're in control of how we experience it. So we can have a blissed out time or a panicking time. Probably have a little bit of both, but try to stay more on the positive, you know, like observing and just observe. And just
well, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I try to do at least.
Well, you do a magical job, Marie, really. So I'm super grateful for this. I think you've shared some very valuable sort of ideas and advice and steps for all of us to follow right now. We're
going to make it through. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be super magical and fun, but painful as well. I had a flash of that. I saw like the most amazing stuff happening, and also so sad because a lot of people don't want to, you know, they just have to, they're in their little routine, whatever, but that's their lesson. But they just try to, it's going to be beautiful too. It's going to be as amazing as it is weird.
I love it.
For sure.
Sort of like that's us in a nutshell, as amazing as it is weird. Yes.
Right. And we needed it. Don't you feel like that? I mean, the world is so like, what the hell is this? You know, before that, mundane, you know, all of us on the same. And they needed that. It's time. And a lot of people may be behind, but you know, it's like life doesn't end ever. You can't kill energy. So, okay, we have to try to stay as present as possible. That's the best thing to do. Then you're ready for everything. You know, when you're in the moment. Before you're in the past, you're not even here. In the future, none of those things happen. We think of everything. We don't. Just be with it. That's what we're here for. You're very wise. Just remember who you are. You will. Say it over and over.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Marie. Yeah. Thanks for stopping on your busy day.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you. It was fun.
Okay.
Really cool. Thanks, guys.
We'll see you soon. We love you.
Aloha. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Soul Fam podcast. Be sure to tune in to every episode where we dive into a different rabbit hole of the known and unknown to empower you in conscious living and exploration of the greater universe. We hope you leave each episode with a little stardust in your hair and inspiration in your heart. With love from your Soul Fam.